Harriet Tubman is taught and remembered as someone who helped free many slaves through her work on the Underground Railroad. Though that is an incredible contribution to United States history, it only begins to scratch the surface of what she accomplished in her lifetime. Harriet Tubman was born into slavery in the 1820s in Maryland. The major social issues during these years of her life were women's rights and rights for minorities. Harriet Tubman was born to parents who were slaves. At one point, she exclaimed, "I grew up like a neglected weed, ignorant of liberty, having no experience of it." She worked many different jobs over the years that gave her skills that she needed when she decided to make her escape. When she was 12 years old, she was hit in the head with a heavy object that nearly killed her. After this incident, she suffered from sleeping spells and seizures. She claimed that she had visions during these spells. Tubman became increasingly religious at this point in her life, believing that the visions were signs from God. She had the spells for the next 60 years, never knowing when she might faint or seize. She underwent brain surgery when she was in her 70s to try to stop the spells. It was successful. Tubman refused anesthesia and chewed on a bullet during the surgery to ease the pain. In 1849, in fear of being sold to a new owner, she made 2 attempts to flee to Pennsylvania, a free state, succeeding on the second attempt. Very soon after arriving in Pennsylvania, Tubman went back to Maryland to bring members of her family to someplace free. This became the first of Harriet Tubman's approximately 13 trips on the Underground Railroad to bring slaves to freedom. She continued to try to bring others out of slavery even when there was a reward offered for her capture. Aside from what she did on the Underground Railroad, her life's work is widely untaught. In 1861, when the Civil War began, Harriet Tubman decided that to increase her effectiveness in the fight to end slavery, she would volunteer to work with the Union Army. She first enlisted as a nurse, then moved on to scout and spy for the Army. After serving 10 months as a nurse, in the beginning of 1863, Tubman was given the authority to lead a group of men on a mission to spy on the enemy. In the town that they spied on, they found a large group of slaves. Based on the information she and her team gathered during their mission, the colonel decided that they would be able to raid a town and get the support of some enslaved African Americans in the town. This mission convinced the commanders that other similar raids were possible. Months later, in June of 1863, Harriet Tubman played a major role in an armed raid, the Combahee River Raid. She had gathered information on where the rebel forces had hidden torpedoes in the river. Tubman promised freedom to the slaves that she got her information from. This information allowed her and her unit of Union soldiers to travel safely up the river where fugitives were in hiding, waiting to be rescued. They were able to free over 750 slaves, while also burning the opposing forces' buildings, crops, and food. Harriet Tubman remains the only known woman who helped lead a raid during the Civil War. Not only was she successful in helping to free so many people, the raid was a huge victory against the Confederate Army. At the end of the 1800s, Harriet Tubman became involved in the women's suffrage movement. Tubman believed in the equality of all people, no matter their race or gender. She began speaking at both black and white suffrage conventions in New York, Boston, and Washington. She shared stories of her life as an African American slave to the crowds. Though she was illiterate, never having been able to read or write, her speeches always drew crowds. Further adding to the humanitarian image, Harriet Tubman opened a facility on a 25-acre plot of land called Harriet Tubman's Home for the Aged, a home that she eventually had to live in when she fell ill until she passed away. Harriet Tubman is remembered as a former slave turned train conductor who helped free slaves. Her innumerable contributions to the abolitionist movement and women's rights deserve much more recognition in schools. She devoted her life to making positive changes for African Americans, women, and old and sick people. Harriet Tubman risked her life to shape a country into what it was supposed to be when it was founded, a place to live free from prosecution that was governed by the people.